Joyous rising, family. Great rising, grand rising. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, depending on where you're coming from. We ask you to check in. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt, and it is Friday, or as we say over here, Friday. Friday, February the 24th, 2023, and the time is 1:01 p.m. Family, I have some wonderful people here today to share with you. We have Gold Star Mother Susan Price, and you all know her by now, but she will be back on next week to talk to us about her story and to share some other things with our family. We also have XRP Dave One, and you all know XRP Dave One as a man of God who has been sent as a messenger to share the good news about our new global financial system and how we are to prepare. So I brought him along with our Gold Star mother, a mother of a fallen soldier who was working with the White House to bring about our sovereignty, our how do I prosperity, our abundance, and our peace. And unfortunately, he lost his life doing the great call that God has set him here to do. So we're honored to have her here representing her family, her son, and all the soldiers who are fighting for our freedoms, as well as XRP Dave One. And both of them are messengers of God. I'm going to turn over the platform to them to share whatever it is that they have on their hearts about how we can prepare for our new financial reality and spiritual reality. And as we've entitled this, we only have days and weeks ahead of us to get ready. Okay, so now I want to turn it over to Gold Star Mother Susan Price.
Thank you, Dr. Kia.
You're
And
welcome.
thank you, listeners, and welcome. And it's an honor to have you
Yes.
because you're very important to us and you're special to be tuning in. You're chosen at this time. And we're here not for fear porn, but we come in love
Amen.
just to remind you to get ready to be ready. That's all it is. Eat the meat and spit out the bones, whatever, however you interpret it. But we're just here to help you prepare. And we're all a little apprehensive, but excited too. Remember, we're going into a new phase. This is promised in the book. The Lord is bringing heaven on earth, and there's a process. It's the biggest sting operation in the history of the planet. How lucky are we to be here now? And I am so grateful, even though I don't like the title of being a Gold Star mother. I'm honored that the Lord chose my son to be one of those Marines. As you know, the Marines have been making the arrest and fighting the good fight along with the Army soldiers and Air Force, Coast Guard, all of them together as one. We're all one. We're one big family. Nobody's more important than the other. And we just want to remind you that we're here in love and honored to be with you all today. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mother. I'm so honored that you share your energy, your time, your love with us. And to be able to do that after all you've been through is a lot. So I appreciate you very much. Thank you, Mother. And thank you for introducing me to so many beautiful people. I feel honored. Thank you, Mother.
Well, you're a blessing, and your followers are blessings too.
Yes, ma'am. And
So
we,
we're one team,
yes,
and
ma'am.
we've been separated by too many people, and that's not to happen anymore. We have
Yes,
to
ma'am.
come together.
Absolutely. And just to add to what Mother said, I am so grateful to you all, the audience that's here, that of our soul family, because you don't have to take your time to be here. We appreciate you and love you so much. And do you want to say something, Mother? We can.
No, it's thank you so much. Yes, they're very important to us. And the reason my son lost his life to give you all a voice because less than 1% of our military serves our great nation in uniform. It's still a great nation. And the spirit and the breath of those who have fallen and who have fought is what sustains us. But we will not let them take our children.
Mm,
They're our future legacy. And I'm a veteran too. And I've been fighting not just these 13 years, but when I came out of uniform, I fight in spirit as well to preserve and protect my grandchildren and yours. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your service, Mother.
You're
Well,
welcome.
thank you so much, both in the military and in the spiritual warfare that we're encountering right now. We appreciate you. So, Mother, would you introduce XRP Day for us?
Yes, XRP Dave, he's our soul family. Love him like a brother. I'm honored to have met him. And David, you are the king of XRP and a man of God. And it's an honor to work with you and XRP Dave because, you know, the Lord gives us messages from time to time and to work with people that understand the comms, the intel. So the floor is yours, David. Thank you so
Welcome.
much.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Pruitt. Thank you,
Welcome.
Susan. It's a privilege and an honor for me. This isn't my normal modus operandi. I'm not a person that is out producing videos and producing content from a visual standpoint.
Mm.
Back in April of 2021, the Lord asked me to join him on Twitter. I was over on TikTok to bring the message of what was happening in the digital space with regards to XRP. Now, mind you, I knew nothing about the digital market space. I knew nothing about decentralized networks. My background is 35 plus years of tax and accounting, forensic accounting, worked on some cases with the FBI to delve into financial statements and things like this to look for impropriety. But you know, I was happy just being a trader. I traded in the futures market. He helped me develop some algorithms, but it all went back to late or actually early 2000 after 9/11. And I remember that day because everything in the news and how people were talking, it was, hey, we're getting ready to go home. Jesus is coming. He's going to take us out of here. And I thought, you know what? God's work isn't done yet. There's more to do. And because I've had a personal relationship with him, and that relationship is just as familiar and as close as we are right now talking, I went right straight to him and I said, Father, we need more time. We need more time. And I was in the throne room with him. He was seated to the left of me. He was big, by the way. And I remember there was this uncomfortable pause. And we've all been in those situations, right? Where there's that uncomfortable silence. And he said, you have at least 50 more years. Well, that was 18 years ago. So that leaves about 32 more years. But I stood in the gap for all of us so that we would have time to come to know his love. And when he asked me to come over to Twitter, he reminded me of that. He said, you asked. And now I need your help. So for the last 2 years, we've been spending time together. He's been releasing revelation all the way to get us to this point right now, Dr. Pruitt. Because the message is we are going into a new financial system. He has brought heaven to earth, and I'll qualify that for you. He shared with me the master plan, and it had to do with an agreement that he made with the devil. When man came, as we know man, right? Adam, etc. He knew that the enemy was ruling this world. And he felt it was unfair because here's God bringing his people, his creation, and it was going to mess up the devil's plan. And the Lord said, okay, I'll give you 7,885 more years. Well, what he didn't know was it was all part of God's master plan. Now, that plan, according to man, was supposed to end on December 21st, 2012. And we all remember what was going on in the news at that time. Planets are going to align. They're all going to crush the earth. We're going to be destroyed, etc. So you can imagine what people were thinking, right? Well, what he showed me was they fudged the numbers And that wasn't the end. And when I say the end, it wasn't supposed to be the end of the world, right? It was supposed to be the end of the contract. Well, the contract actually ended 8 years later, which he proved. And that was December 21st, 2020. Now, what happened at that time? The very next day, the SEC filed a lawsuit against XRP. The very next day, the day after the contract expired, which meant who was back in control? God. And at that point, he reclaimed this was his time, this was his age, and we were his land. Our hearts were his land. And he's proclaimed a fire moving from the west to the east. Now, if you've paid any attention to what's going on, there's revival breaking out all over, like we've never seen before. And people are kind of trying to figure out what happened, right? Because we've had revivals before, but they couldn't stay. They didn't last. Well, he said this one is eternal because he has now brought heaven to earth. He is bringing restoration. And when I say bringing, it's just the manifestation in our realm. It was all created before time began, before we were made flesh and blood. So it's nothing new for him because it was already created. It's new for us because we're getting to walk into it. We're going to benefit from it. Humanity will win in this process.
And Dave, may I interject? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No,
but
sure, you go right ahead.
It's important. So for the listeners that probably don't understand, with 9/11, the reason that 9/11 happened is because Nasara was supposed to roll in at 10 o'clock that morning. And what happened was George Bush Sr. and his minions took control and were working with domestic and foreign terrorists working together. But that was under the devil, under Satan's rule then. The contract is broken now, but we were still under that contract then, correct?
That's correct. And within the confines of that contract, God could not lift a finger to help mankind.
Exactly. And also I want to point out that domestic tyranny that took place here in our country, in New York City at that time, and in DC with the Pentagon and all the other stuff that went down, that started the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, to which my son was a victim of that. And oh, by the way, the military industrial complex was also part of aiding and abetting these enemies, domestic tyranny, along with the major corporations. A lot of people don't know that. So this plug is being pulled. This military sting operation is true and real. I see it in my world as the mother of an American hero. And I've been witnessing this. I've written about this. I've written about Trump's executive orders to keep things lawful. It is a lawful military coup. And this is going down. So I will give the floor back to you, but I thought that was a very valid point to bring in because a lot of people don't know that history.
That's wonderful because, and I can pick up right from there, which is excellent because, during this time when he was in control, things could escalate. Wars were created to generate money that couldn't be accounted for the cabal. They needed wars to crank up the money machine so that they had money to work on all their projects, right? Because it takes money. They bribed people. They paid people off. They had information about people that they created or set them up in ways that they were then compromised. We're going into a situation, an economy, a society, a time where evil will not exist. And when I say that, it's hard to imagine going into a place and a time where there's no evil. And as hard of a message as that might be, and believe me, I've been talking about this for a while. And now the message is getting stronger, and there's a reason for it to get stronger. We are days and weeks away from this transformation. And as Susan said, the Lord had told me about it being a breath away. And then while we're on the phone and I say that, and then the Lord says, but I just told you yesterday it was a whisper away. You can just see how the connections are already there in place. And we're just walking it out, right? Like Paul said, we're just walking out our salvation. Well, salvation isn't about suffering and struggle and everything else, because God had to watch us go through that. We're his children. I mean, how would you feel if you had to watch your child and you couldn't do anything? Well, now that time is over. Everything that the devil took from every generation in your lineage, God already knew that right down to the penny, and he put it all up in heaven the moment everything was created. Why? Because he had a time when it would all be released, when we would receive restoration. Now, if you know anything about the Bible promises, God's promises is when the enemy is known to have stolen, he has to return sevenfold.
Mm-hmm.
And there are scripture after scripture about this. Sevenfold isn't $1 times 7 and you say, wow, okay, I got $7. No, it's $1 times 7, which is 7, times 7, which is 49, times 7, times 7, times 7, times 7, times 7. Well, $1 under that particular advancement, or we'll call it growth rate with God, is $823,000. Now imagine it being $1 million to start with, or $1 billion or $1 trillion. The numbers are off the charts. And even in God's word, he talks about 30, 60, 90-fold returns. If you fold $1 100 times, you're in outer space. You're at the edge of the galaxy. And it's that simple, but for God, it's just so easy to do, because everything is math generated in nature, in how they construct buildings. And these principles, they don't change. They're constants. Kind of like it's called a fractal, geometric fractal. But, when I was talking to Dr. Pruitt about this, we are stepping into a time when there is no fear. Now, let me give you the definition of fear. Fear is false evidence appearing real. And that's what is all over the television. That's what's all over the media.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that people are seeing in the sky, it's holograms. It's just giant projectors that are putting stuff up into the air for people to see. Does that mean it is what is up there? Absolutely not. But there's the false evidence appearing real.
Dave, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
Do we know why God made this agreement with Satan to kind of wage war with us during?
Yes, we do. We do.
Okay.
It had to do with the fact that he had to be able to show that we would seek him out, and that God would not place any influence on us, requiring or forcing us to love him.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Now, how did he accomplish that? Number one, he had to make sure there was one righteous. And we all know the story of Noah, right? Noah was the one righteous man who loved God. And because Noah was the only righteous at the time, God spared the entire world through Noah and his family. He flooded the earth, and Noah and his family started everything. So that's referenced as second man. So first man was what was here before we ever got here. And it was evil. And there was no way they were going to come to love him. But through Adam and Eve were the first ones that had communion with him in the garden. Well, that communion or that connection was broken. It was lost. And it was only until Jesus, which was God in the flesh, reunited with his Father when John baptized him, the connection was reconnected. Kind of like if your computer was plugged into the wall and one of the kids unplugged it, and you're trying to figure out why you can't get on the internet and
Yes.
why nothing's working. And then you look down and you say, oh, the plug's unplugged. And the moment you plug it back in, life is great again, right? You can watch your movies and you can hear your music and you can do these and you communicate with your friends and everything else. So that's what happened. We got that recommunication back with the Lord through His Spirit. And at that point, His promise to Noah was, I'm never going to wipe mankind out again. And I'm going to give you not only a promise and a covenant, but I'm going to give you a physical reminder. And what was that physical reminder? Rainbow. Now, that is the name of our new currency, rainbow. And we're going to have some paper money for a little bit of time. We'll eventually not need paper money. But that's the purpose of the new currency that's coming in. All of the green dollars that we hold right now from the Federal Reserve, called Federal Reserve notes, by the way, they're worthless. As of February 1st, they're worthless. We're getting the new currency. They're still accepting them, but they have to turn them back into the Treasury Department and they'll be destroyed. So the other reason too was God knew what was going to happen during this restoration. The eternal revival breaking out everywhere. I mean, think about it. It's no longer temporary. It's permanent. So what we're witnessing right now, it's just going to spread and spread and spread and spread and spread to where it's going to be in your neighborhood. There's going to be people that are going to be understanding the joy of the Lord. And there's going to be just enough of it right now. And Susan, Lord's telling me something about you right now, and I want to kind of listen into that too while I'm talking. But imagine this, going into a time where there is no war, there is no violence, there is no hate, there is no vulgarity, there is no, well, I got to be careful what I say here. You know what I mean? We're going to have a clean and a pure society that is based on one thing. And Dr. Key, you said it so well the other day about love. Yes. and how we're asked to do that. Could you tell everybody that again? Share that. What Jesus had to say about love.
Jesus has said that He is requiring us to do two things. That was to love the Lord our God with all our heart, all our mind, all our soul, and all our strength. He said that was the greatest principle. And the second was like unto it, and that is to love your neighbor as yourself. For on these two things hang all the laws and the scriptures.
And just think of that. Just like, okay, so simple, right?
Yes.
But it's not. I've been there. And here was my argument. Well, how can I love somebody else if I don't love myself? And what will cause a person not to love themselves? They don't have enough. They've been beaten down. They've been destroyed. They're depressed. Well, imagine now that every single worry is gone. You don't have to worry about the rent. You don't have to worry about the mortgage. You don't have to worry about the car payment, because God has filled your storehouse with so much abundance that it's never a concern. What happens to us physically? We just automatically go into this place of love. We go into this place of wanting to reach out and help anybody in need.
Yes.
That's why He gave up 7,887 years for now, for this time. Because heaven is on earth, the restoration is coming, Nasara, the buyback of XRP. We're talking about 10 to the 45th power. One with 45 zeros. Your hand will start to cramp before you can get all the zeros written. I've tried. And that's for the world to enjoy, to pay off all the debt, to give people money, to be able to allow them to do those things in their heart that they've always wanted to do. And Susan, I know you and I have talked about this. What has God been telling you about your humanitarian project?
Well, you know what it is. It's
I do.
the wellness for our fallen heroes' families as well as our military to restore the healing.
And rightfully so, right? Look what they did for our country.
That's right.
Mhm.
They
And
didn't have to
I'm
do that.
so excited. I can't wait to get started on it. That's my passion. My passion is healing anyway. I've worked in that arena for my whole entire adult life, every aspect of it. I was a therapist. All my friends are doctors or warriors today.
Mhm. And
That's
see,
my
he's been building up that army of wellness, that army of love.
yeah.
Because imagine this, that foundation is 100% love based,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the currency of heaven? Love.
Love.
So every day, and we're going to start today
Mhm.
for everybody that's listening, because now you're aware, you've heard the word, and that's a living word. See, we're here for you. We're not here for us. Like Susan said, we've been called to bring this message to you, not fear, right? Because fear is false.
Mm.
This is a real message, and it's based in love. So everything that we're saying comes from our heart. It comes with the desire that you would have more, be more, and everybody around you would see that. Because other than love, nothing else matters. We're going to have, well, I'm not going to say we're going to. It's already there, people. Our government has already received all of the gold to back our currency, which is now gold backed. All the countries of the world are backed, either by gold, sterling silver, diamonds, oil. And who put it all on the ground? God. He already knew before time was created. So he made sure that there was more gold in the Philippines than anywhere in the world. Now, nobody talks about it because they're led to believe it's someplace else. But they're finding these resources because of technology, and people can't believe that it's there. And it's been there the whole time.
And David, not just the Philippines, but all the gold that they found in the Vatican, under the Vatican.
You want to talk about that, Susan?
Well, I'll let you elaborate, but I know that it took a lot of manpower to move it out of there. I'm not sure exactly how many helicopters or planes it took because it's so heavy, but
Well, to date, they've had over 460 transport military cargo. I'm going to call them ships because that's really what they are, flying ships, that have moved gold that they found in a 1,700 kilometer tunnel that went from the Vatican to Switzerland. Alongside of the walls, imagine about a foot out from each side of the wall, 8 foot tall, running 1,700 kilometers, gold bars. And we're not talking, 44-pound gold bars. We're talking small 1 ounce bars because they're transportable. You can grab one if you need one, right? But they've been stockpiling this for centuries. Then they found another tunnel that was like 500 kilometers from the Vatican to Jerusalem. The same thing. Now, I'm aware that in the very beginning, just what they removed from the Vatican, not from the tunnels, that's been valued at $35 quadrillion. Quadrillion. That would be 10 to the 16th power. So 1 with 16 zeros. But it's an ongoing process because there's more.
And David, I want to interject one more time. I wonder if that would be tied into why George W. Bush's best friend was Colonel Jim Nicholson, who was also the ambassador to the Vatican back in the day. So why do we need an ambassador to the Vatican?
Mm.
Trafficking, moving, all kinds of assets, gold and other products.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just wanted to put that in there.
Well,
Yeah.
most people may not be aware, but Washington, D.C., London City, and the Vatican
Hmm.
are their own territories.
Mhm.
They've claimed that land, and it's not part of the United States. It's whatever they want it to be. It's sovereign land. It's protected, and they rule it,
Mhm.
and they can do whatever they want on it. It's like having their own little country right there.
Yeah.
So, we fast forward in time, and those discoveries were only made in the last several years. But here is this enormous stockpile of wealth. But it all started because there was ancient wealth. And that ancient wealth, which was for humanity, was given to certain families and organizations to manage it and grow it. And they turned. They turned to love money and use money as a weapon against people. Well, back in 2021, guess what happened? It all got called back.
Dave, can I interject for 1 second?
Sure.
You were talking about ancient dynasties or ancient money. Someone sent me a document, and I'm going to send it to you. So forgive me if I was looking down on my phone. I was trying to find it for you, but it's
Sure.
some type of world monetary system, and it was an agreement between ancient dynasties that they would bring their gold together to help humanity. And
There
it
you
was
go.
a beautiful document. I did present it, and some people said, it sounds a little out there, but it sounds to be real. And it sounds to be in alignment with what you're saying, that these dynasties have been preparing for a very long time to use this
Yeah.
gold to bless us.
Well, and
And
here's go ahead, Susan.
I'm sorry, David. I wanted to make a point. I think that ourselves, and I speak for myself too, not just the listeners, but I think that we all, as the human race, need to be prepared, get ourselves ready to be ready, and prepare our minds and emotions for things that are out there. People, we're going to hear all kinds of things that you wouldn't think are out there. Our God's a supernatural God. So, this is just remember, this is the war of good versus evil in every sense. So there's things that you and I have not been familiar with. Well, we're going to be familiar with that through the disclosures. Through the disclosures coming with the emergency broadcast, and then afterwards, the military tribunals. So we're going to see all kinds of things. And I think that most of us here, I don't think anything's going to shock me, because what a lot of people are learning now, I saw 13 and a half years ago. And being a woman of God, the Lord has talked to me, showed me, I heard his voice. I've seen things, the likes that are just horrifying. But I asked the Lord, why am I seeing these things? I mean, he wanted me to know then, because, here my son was fighting this. So just, I know you don't want to hear it and it seems extreme, and it is, because that's the true world. We don't live in the true world. All the facts and truths are coming up like a great earthquake. In fact, this is the time of earthquakes. So just prepare yourselves, really. And it's not fear porn. Once again, it's in love, but we can't tell you enough how to be ready for those things that you can't even conceive in your heart, mind, and soul, because we're good people. We're not evil. We can't think like the evildoers.
And
So that's all I wanted to say.
thank you,
Yeah.
Mother. When I saw that document, it brought me to tears because it talked about
Yeah.
each nation and how much gold they had, and the amount of money, and how they were backing up all the currencies. The amount of zeros, like you said, Brother Dave, was something I had never imagined in my entire life. All I could do was weep. I'm so serious. So it's like you said, we may not be prepared to hear these things. It's been a whole lot of evil going on, but at the
Yeah.
same time, there have been benevolent families, ancient dynasties for centuries that have been preparing, saving up, creating trust for us. And we are so honored and blessed and fortunate to be able to experience that. And I'll yield the floor now. I just wanted to say that.
Well, and that's a great lead in, because when he took me back to the Mayan calendar and he started to reveal what was going on,
Mm.
you know, Enoch having shown them how to build the calendar. The calendar was built for one purpose for them, and then it was built as a reminder and something on earth that would always show the day of when this was going to happen. And I remember when we were studying it, and I was missing 108 years. And if you take 7,885 and you subtract 108 years, you get 7777. Well, that's one of God's numbers. And he just showed that to me. And I said, well, you know, Papa, where's the 108 years? And we worked through that. And again, you know, there are times when right now I'll say, Papa, what's the number? 23. Oh, and it fits. Boom. That's what it was supposed to be. So we don't have to waste a bunch of time. But, you know, this process. So we're working through this, and all of a sudden he says, when did the Federal Reserve start? I typed it in. 8 years. I'm sorry, 108 years. So 77777 plus 108 years is 7,885 years. And I said, well, what was going on with them? He said, they were the end of the killing, stealing, and destroying. And what have they done? The power to create phantom money, to do a lot of these different things, to keep evil doing what it was doing, right? Well, everybody, I'm glad to say that they are powerless. Their contract expired on July 4th, 2022. They no longer can print money, make money, or do anything related to that. They're no more now than just a governance board, like a compliance officer for what is coming, which is a national consumption tax. And I was told about all this in 1994. The Lord didn't remind me of that conversation with the former House Ways and Means Committee chairman, telling us about a program exactly like what Nasara is today. He didn't have a name for it, but he talked about the fact that everybody was going to get money back from what had been stolen. They were getting rid of income tax.
Now, David, in knowing that, the first step of this process is an emergency alert or emergency broadcast.
Yes. Would you like me to go kind of through the steps real quick?
Yeah, I think our listeners would, like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
What we know now is during this time, it's basically been a roundup of evil. And what you're seeing out there in the media doesn't necessarily mean you're seeing what's real, right?
Right.
Lots of CGI, Hollywood masking, makeup, etc. So as we get closer to the termination of these days and weeks, there's going to be an announcement, emergency broadcasting system announcement. It's going to go out to cell phones, text messages, emails, and it's going to announce that for a period of time, we have to kind of shut things down. And we're going to be asked to stay where we're at so that there isn't any chaos on the street. But more importantly is there's still a few people that they want to apprehend. Not many. Arizona was the final place of collection. And that was that during the Super Bowl week.
Mhm.
Tens of thousands of people were apprehended here during that time.
Wow.
Why? Because they're all flying in their private jets and they're all consolidating into one place. So that was that. So emergency broadcasting system will release a message. Then we're going to go into this period of what's called disclosure. Could be anywhere from 3 to 10 days. But during that time, we're going to be given instructions to get on the TV, and they're going to show us exactly what has been going on. Now, a lot of that is going to be graphic, and you may not want to watch it originally up front. But here's what's going to happen. You're going to want to know what transpired, because after a day or two, you're going to feel a little heat inside, and you're going to be a little infuriated because of what you've had to go through in your life, like somebody holding thumb over you, and you're going to want to see the dirt. You're going to want to see the evil. And that's not because we wish ill will, but what we have asked for is peace. We've asked for evil to not have to have pressure on us. Once we go through that period of time, we're going to receive an email, text, etc. We're then going to get an email from Wells Fargo Bank. Wells Fargo Bank is the designated quantum financial system company to mirror all of the bank accounts onto the new quantum financial system.
Now, David, that's whether or not you bank with Wells Fargo, you're still going to receive an email from Wells Fargo.
Correct.
So if people see that email read your emails. I know if I get an email and it's not familiar, I just X out of it. But pay extra special attention during this time when the internet, well, I don't know if it's going to be called internet or whatever, once they put we can look at Wi-Fi again.
It'll come from Starlink.
Okay, yeah, Starlink.
And we won't be able to delete it.
Wow.
Wow, that is something.
That's how we know it's real.
800 number, correct?
Yes, and there'll be an 800 number on there, and you'll be asked to call that 800 number, which will connect you to one of 8 regional call centers.
Okay.
They're going to ask you a few questions to identify you. There's a principle called KYC, Know Your Customer. And the importance of that is they're going to be giving you an appointment, a date and a time to appear within a location of no more than 50 miles from where you're at to begin this redemption process. And they need to make sure that you are who you are. So somebody else isn't trying to falsify their identity to claim what's yours. So just understand that there's a process, and it's not about privacy. It's not about, wanting to know too much about you, but just make sure that you're ready to answer just a few simple questions, because for the most part, they've already done it. They have the biometric on every single one of us. Every time we go into Walmart, every time we go into an airport, our biometric is scanned probably a couple thousand times. So they know who we are, and that's good because we don't want to be left out. So we're going to get that notification. We're going to be directed to a redemption center, and we're going to be given a time to appear.
Excuse me, Dave, will we have military or National Guard on the ground, any type of protection?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
The moment the emergency broadcasting system message goes out, it will identify the fact that we are now under guard, and think of it as protection. Okay. It's not to come and take you away. It's not to put anything that is evil upon you or around you. It's to protect you.
Okay.
Kind of like the SEC is protecting XRP right now. This lawsuit is just theater.
Right.
And has nothing to do with anything that they've done wrong. It's to make sure that we continue on the plan, because it becomes the token through which every single transaction in the world will process. Okay. So I'm going to pick up where we were on the redemption center. Susan, unless you have a question or anything.
David, you're so tapped into me, and I'm tapped into you. It's remarkable. And by the way, yesterday when he and I were speaking, he was getting ready to say this happening is just a breath away, and then he changed it to whisper. I heard whisper in my head before he said it, but I didn't want to interrupt him. And when he said it, I had the chills all over my body, because we're so tapped in. We're hearing the same thing from the Holy Spirit.
Amen. And that message is only intensifying through us and through others.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Mel Carmine, because earlier Mel Carmine said hello.
Where did you see me at, Susan? Where's the first time you saw me?
That's what I'm working up to say. I first saw you on his show, and the Lord told me I needed to connect with you and get you out there with right now with Dr. Kia and others, because I obey when I hear the voice. And I'm not a prophet. God speaks to all of us. I just listen and I hear. We have to stay in the moment. Yeah. We all do it. We all can do it.
Exactly.
So I'm sorry, David. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'm just so blessed. I mean, there was, for the longest time, right? The Lord he had me tucked away. He had me hidden. He had me posting, loving on people, giving words of wisdom and letting people know what was coming. I didn't truly understand it in the beginning. I mean, everybody has to remember, and you can go over to Twitter if you want to see more, XRPLion1 or @XRPLion1. But he's telling me about having a pure heart. He's telling me about the clawbacks. He's telling me about the evil and the traps and what we're seeing not being true. And he reminded me of the 35 and a half years my father was a police officer, and him sharing with me all the stories of what was going on. But see, everything that we're seeing and have seen on TV,
right,
it's just a picture of what is. We see the apocalypse now. We see the Stargate show. Well, I can tell you that I've received confirmation that it's real. And one of the reasons why they went in after Saddam was he discovered more Stargates, and he was attempting to sell them to evil, so they could bring evil into our world.
Wow.
So evil can take out evil, but still be evil.
So then when we get to the Redemption Center, we don't want to be walking in there earlier than 10 minutes before our appointment.
Correct.
We can park out in the parking lot, walk in maybe 8-9 minutes before, but do not be late. Whatever
Correct.
you.
Yeah, this is I'm sorry, go ahead, Dr. Prince.
What do you two say to people that say, I'm not going to Redemption Center, I don't trust it, I only trust the bank?
Well, let me tell you about the banks.
Okay.
As of January 1st of this year, a reform took place. It was called it's called Basel IV.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it puts requirements on banks and what they have to do. Well, that requirement was only met by 50% of the banks. Just let that sink in. 50% of the banks failed the requirement on January 1st of 2023. Some of them are being consolidated. Most of those are being eliminated. And they're winding down right now, and they will be done by the end of this month.
So, David, the people that do not go to the redemption centers, then they just forfeit their blessing, right?
Everyone is required.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they have to come and get you.
Really? Wow.
No one will not be able to avoid the redemption center.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then what happens then? You walk in, they greet you.
You're going to be told that you're going to go to station 1, and you're going to go probably down a small hallway. None of these are in banks, by the way, and there's 7,000 redemption centers across the United States, over 16,000 worldwide. And you're going to be asked to go into the room, and then they're going to begin a interview process.
So when is your frequency waived, your heart space waived?
Once you pass through the initial screening, and that is a screening which is using technology not from this earth,
right?
And it's going to scan your heart. It's going to check who you are. Evil does not continue on at that time in the process, and they have a way that they're going to handle that, and it may be best not to go into any kind of detail on that, but just let people know that evil isn't going to be part of the new system going forward.
That
So
makes some people very afraid, Dave. I have to, excuse me for interjecting. Some people they responded on our last live that we did that made them uncomfortable. They were afraid of their hearts being scanned, and they didn't like that concept of not being able to have access to money because somebody literally said because they watch porn or because they've done something bad in their past. So how do we calm the nerves of people who are concerned about their energy being scanned?
well, it isn't something that we can avoid. Unfortunately, we're going into God's economy.
Okay.
And there is a level of understanding that we have to accept.
Okay.
If we choose not to, then we're saying, I would rather side with evil. This isn't
And
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, I think it's rather interesting, don't you? And the prophets have witnessed this before it happened with all the revivals taking place. Look at all the young people, old people, even children are accepting God and forgiveness. So they're redeeming now their salvation. And it's because it's the rapture. The evil's being rid off the face of the earth. It's not the other way around how we were taught. So there's nothing really to be afraid of unless you're a mass murderer. But I mean, you have time to redeem yourself now before it happens. I don't know. I'm not God. I'm not judging. That's what it appears to be from what I hear the talk with the prophets, astrologers, and witnesses of people that are transforming their life to get ready to be ready.
Yeah,
Well,
and
and
excuse me. I really need to hear you too. So I'll be quiet. I really need for us to address the fact that this is not a scary event, and I don't know why it's people are interpreting it that way. But Mother, I know you addressed that earlier in the beginning of the podcast. Maybe some people didn't catch that. So could either of you talk about how this isn't even about scaring
I'll
people?
let Dave. I'll let Dave.
Okay.
He's in the middle of trying to walk
Oh,
us through the process.
yes, ma'am.
well, and let's imagine if we can. We all know that there is a day that everything ends, right?
Yes.
And we leave this physical form. Where are we going? Are we just going to go into a hole in the ground? Are we going to go into a
No.
vase? Are we going to go into a vase?
Mm-mm.
Or are we going to go into an eternal life with our Father in heaven, now on earth, who created everything in the universe? And this is the lost message. He did it for us. He did not need to create this earth. He did not need to bring us into flesh and blood. We had a choice whether we were going to come or not. We made a covenant. He made a covenant with us that if we would take flesh and blood and come into this sin conditioned world, that he would provide a way for us to return and regain our status as sons and daughters and our inheritance. Here's the difference. We've been taught through religion that we have to wait for that time and then be taken. And that's what I was talking about, 9/11, etc. People were just gassed out. They were ready to hang it up. Life has been so bad. You know what, Lord, just come and take me. Take me home. God brought heaven to earth because that was a false notion. It was a false teaching. Because what he pointed out to me was everything that we learned about the rapture was wrong. The rapture is taking place right now. And as Susan pointed out, it wasn't to get Christians to heaven. It was to get evil to hell. Because if we had one speck of evil, just like a bad apple, and we take it into God's new economy, because he's the one that's provided this blessing, this restoration, it would spoil the whole bunch in a matter of time. So evil can't be there. You wouldn't take a bad apple or a lemon or an orange
No.
and just mix it in with the new oranges you just bought and said, well, we'll see what happens.
No, you
No,
wouldn't give millions of dollars or more to the criminally minded for them to go on and further their agenda. You wouldn't do that. So,
exactly.
and that's part of why Trump was, president and put the orders in, and the sting operation that went down that
Mhm.
we're at the end of now. So this is the finality of it all. So I don't understand why everybody is afraid. I mean,
The
we're
Lord told
going
me,
into a blessing.
Susan, the Lord gave me what the bottom line is.
Okay.
I've been with him in communion, and I asked him, Lord, what's going to happen to all these people that don't receive your son Jesus, who paid the price for us having to come into a sin condition, right? We're in a sin condition no more than a whale is in water. Tell him to get out. He can't. But if there's a way, that's what we're here to do. We're here to receive it. And because of time, the devil had his time, and that expired. And now God is saying, gosh, you know what, guys? I've given you enough time. And I know this sounds direct and forward, but I want you to know I'm trying to deliver this with all the love in my heart, because I'm dealing with him every single day on these issues. I'm standing in the gap. I'm praying for people. I'm doing everything I possibly can to make sure you are aware that this is the time that has been written about. This isn't a time to use words or opinions to normalize or eliminate God's promise. Because you're not only you're doing it for yourself, but you're doing it for other people too. And that's why, especially right now, he gave me a word just the other day, and we talked about this. It's called offense. And it's that little bit of anger, resentment that we have for people that have hurt us, that have wronged us, that just don't get us, that discount us, that don't want to be with us, that insult us, that say bad things about us behind our back to other people, but they proclaim to be a friend. That has to be over. Because as he pointed it out, and I had to experience it. It came up and happened for me. And he said, Dave, he said, even though your name is written in the book of life, that's enough to keep you out of my heaven on earth. At a minimum, like the size of a mustard seed. And I said, well, Lord, he goes, you had to experience it first so you could share the importance of it with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So what I bring that up because this is what's happening. These attacks are increasing. All of a sudden, brother against brother, sister against brother, mom against dad, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, little nipping dogs. Tick, 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 tick. And we're already tired enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I say something right quick, Dave? Because I'm reading the comments and people are saying we're creeping them out and this is scary. Let me interject here as a woman that grew up in the Christian faith. When you are a person that has a pure heart, then you see things as pure. When you are a person that comes from a standpoint of fear, hatred, anger, or a place of just being completely against God, then you see things from that perspective. To the pure, all things are pure. To the evil, all things are evil. This is a message of hope and love and joy and peace and purity. Saying that your heart or energy is going to be scanned is something that really is a message of love. That if your heart is in a good place, then you will be able to proceed and spend the money. If your heart is not in a good place, you will have the opportunity to get your heart right. That opportunity is right now. So it's important. See, we're not used to being held accountable for the evil that we've had in our heart, for the anger, for the hatred, for the vengeance, for the cutoff culture, the cancel culture. Nobody has held us accountable. Now I'm going to preach. Nobody has held us accountable for cutting people off, for being angry, for being mean, for being lascivious, for being heavily sexed, for watching porn, for cutting off family members, for leaving our husbands and our wives, for putting out our children ahead of time. Nobody has held us accountable for the evil that we've had in our heart, for putting evil in front of our eyes. Nobody. We've been able to be ratchet, to be victims, to express hatred, anger, racism, and division. And now God is calling us to a higher standard, which we should have always done anyway. And we have a problem with that. We have a problem with that. But Dr. Kia Pruitt, Reverend Dr. Kia Pruitt, is telling you right now, if you have a problem with your heart being scanned, then maybe your heart needs to be scanned. And that's okay. But this is the opportunity to get the heart right. The scripture says, break up the fallow ground, break up that part in your heart that's hard, that's not malleable, that you can't plant seeds in. When your heart is hardened from all the evil that you've experienced, from all the trauma that you've experienced, it's hard to hear a message of love. Break up that fallow ground right now and ask the Creator, God, Yahweh, Allah, Source, One, with your highest self, your ancestors, whatever you call the Supreme Being, whoever created you. Ask that entity to help you to break up that fallow ground in your heart so you can receive the message of love. We're entering into a whole new reality that's going to be filled with beauty, love, patience, kindness, prosperity. Why would you want evil to enter into that? It's not a message of fear. It's a message of love. It really is. This shouldn't be creeping you out. It should be bringing you joy. Okay, so excuse me for that, for interjecting. Brother David, Gold Star Mother, I just don't understand why we're okay with messages of hatred. We spend 2 hours watching evil movies of people killing each other, people sleeping with each other's husbands and wives, sex, hatred, but we can't spend a few minutes to hear God's message to us about how He wants our heart to be in a good place so that we can receive the prosperity and the peace that He's promised us.
Amen, Dr. Kia. And thank you for saying that, because we're not responsible. You, me, and David here are not responsible for what's going to go down between that soul and God. That's between the two of them.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, when we all move in, and I speak for myself too, and I'm not a perfect person. I'm working on being a better person too.
Yes.
That where we're going, the frequency all has to match. So if you think you're being put out, well, you're not going to fit in the plan. So you won't be able to spend the blessing, because you have to be a blessing to the blessing. And that's all. And not ridiculing anybody.
That's right.
We're all, we're spiritual beings, first of all, living out an earthy lifestyle.
Yes.
We're here to recreate, and that's why some of us have humanitarian plans, and some of us have currencies that are going to help rebuild and restore. We don't need any of the satanic culture that's been following us around for decades or centuries to enter into the rebirth of our world, and we don't want that either. So just saying.
No, that was a great point. Great point. Because, I think the summation of that is we've just gotten too comfort or had too much comfort in the uncomfortable.
Yes.
That's right.
And it's everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
This is a sin-natured world.
Yes. Yes.
We can't walk away from it. And
No.
as you see on my banner, it talks about true identity. It uses the word perfect. Perfect means completion.
Yes. Yes.
It means the culmination of God's plan for you. We're not talking about good or bad. We're not talking about right or left. We're not talking about symmetry. And I'm always reminded of the time, two people go out on their first date and everything happens, right? It just falls apart. But what do they say at the end? If it really, really was good, man, that was perfect.
Sure do.
And we look at it and go, what do you mean? You know, the table lit on fire and you dropped the mess, you know, you dropped the food and the waiter brought you the wrong meal and it had something in it and shouldn't have been there. No. We're talking about coming together.
Mm.
And that's what's taking place right here. God is calling us back home.
Absolutely.
Why?
So, David, again, when you go through the Redemption Center, you move through, you go into the first room.
Then you'll go into
scanned.
your heart will be scanned if you're pure of heart, and that simply means that you're not holding on to resentment, you're not holding on to ill will, etc. And it is your desire to fulfill your life with goodness, because it's in all of us. You can't deny it. You love your grandchildren, you love your children, you enjoy people that you work with, or you don't. That's okay, right? But bottom line is, God put himself within all of us. He's in our DNA.
Yeah.
It's been proven. So guess what, everybody? God's in you already, but it's dormant. You've either accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior and you've activated it, but doesn't mean you're not, if you haven't yet, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It just means you're not aware yet. And that awareness is going to.
I want to say one thing too. If you hadn't been here to tell us all, educate us all about the process, about being scanned, everyone would have took their happy butts into the Redemption Center, and then it would have been an come to Jesus moment right then and there. So isn't knowledge power? Aren't you
knowledge is power, and it also helps to remove fear.
Yeah. So, you know, I think this is a positive thing.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Kia, what do you have? You had something to say.
Yes, thank you so much. I was thinking about how we don't realize that we've actually been being, our thoughts and our behaviors are being weighed in the balance right now, and we've been scanned anyway. We just didn't know it.
Exactly. And I'm not talking about like at the airport, you know, you're going to walk in the room and you're going to say, please walk through the scanner. No, it's not like that. It's not like that at all.
Yeah.
And for the most part, my understanding is 99.9% of the people already have been monitored or scanned and they're aware of who they are. And that's why a lot of people are gone already.
Maybe that's it. Maybe the fear comes in. We're thinking about the scan, like you said, like when you go to the airport, rather than just knowing that source can already, what's another word for, I don't know no other word for scan, but examine you and kind of see where your heart is. So you don't have to go through a machine to experience that.
You won't even know anything happened.
Right.
I can see, you know, maybe you sit down and there's a monitor and it says welcome.
Yes.
And then 3 to 5 seconds goes by and it says, please exit through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or A, B, C, D, E. And that's all you're going to know. But on the other side, when you go to station 2, then they're going to ask you if you have foreign currency or any currency. Now, if we're talking about our currency, the old currency, US notes, they're saying up to $5,000 in cash will be redeemed at a rate of 1-to-1 to add it to what's called your quantum access account. They're going to ask you if you have any other currency, foreign currency, dinar, zim, dong, and you're going to present that. You're going to take a little piece of paper and a pencil so you can write down what they tell you, because there's rates associated with that. There is a special rate for the dinar. So when they ask if you have dinar, you're going to say yes. You're going to count it in front of you. You're going to write that number down on your piece of paper. You're then going to ask what is the rate? Right now, my understanding is the rate is somewhere, you know, $3.50, maybe up to $4. Once they give you that rate, write it down and then tell them specifically this: I would like the special rate. I would like the special rate. If you say, is there a special rate? You don't get it. Why? Because you're hoping. You now know there's a special rate. So you say, I would like the special rate.
The scripture says, ask and you shall receive. And it also says you have not because you ask not.
Exactly. So once you get that special rate, it could be $11 to $17. We don't have a specific number yet, kind of a range. You're going to write that down. They'll tell you exactly what it is, when you're there. You're going to count out your dinar. You're going to have them count it out. And all you're doing is making sure what you brought is what they're adding to your account. And after you get through that process, you can go to the next station, and then you're going to be given your quantum access account card. I have not seen any pictures of what they look like yet, but all of your bank account money is sitting on the quantum financial system right now. It's mirrored in real time. I just got confirmation the other day, and I've shown it to Susan and I've shown it to Dr. Kia, that confirms that the quantum financial system, the new internet, it came from heaven.
Yes.
There's nothing on earth
Absolutely.
like it. Absolutely. That's why the banksters couldn't steal it or reverse engineer it, because it wasn't made here. It's 100% protected. It does not have a service provider. So there will be no viruses, no hacks, nothing. Everything will be protected. Once you get that quantum access account card, you're going to add your vibration. Well, help me understand, Dr. Kia, how do I talk about that? When I talk about that, is there a better term I should be using for
vibration?
Yeah.
I can't think of a better word. What about you, Mother?
No, I mean, Dave, you're right on it. And excuse me, someone had asked a question when we believe this is going to happen. Again, I don't know if they were here at the beginning of the show when we mentioned, but
Okay. Well, I'm going to make a note that we get back to that.
Okay.
Because that's important, because that's been the number one question for
Yes.
just a moment. And then the question is, how do I prepare for the redemption center?
Okay.
Right? Because if I'm not prepared, but I know the date, what good does it do me?
Mhm.
Right? It's kind of like saying, hey, I live at the bottom of the volcano. When's the volcano going to go off? On this date. But you didn't prepare. You didn't leave. So when it goes off, you're part of the destruction. But okay, so you're going to get your quantum access account card. You're going to add your vibration. Your vibration is unique to you. No two are alike. Your quantum access account card is your account on Starlink with all of your money from your bank account, and it will include all of the money from Nasara. Just be careful. Okay. Just know once you get that card, there's more money on that card than you've ever seen in your life. No one can use that card. So you're going to go to the next station. You're going to be given a quantum computer and a quantum phone. You're going to go to the next station, and they're actually going to have you boot up the computer. You're going to enter a login and a password, and you're going to sign into Starlink, into the quantum financial system, and you're going to enter. There must be a camera or something. Somehow that card activates onto the quantum computer. They haven't told us about that yet. And you're going to see for the first time what God has done. The restoration blessing that he had to wait 8,887 years and a few months and days to be able to give to you. You're probably going to want to fall back, pass out. I'm sure they're prepared for all that. But I'm going to ask you to do one thing. I'm going to ask you to raise your hands and thank and praise the Lord for what he had already done.
Amen.
What do we know about the wedding when Jesus turned the water into wine? Was it the best wine? Yes, but it was also the last. Because the custom was you serve them the best wine first, and then you give them the lesser wine at the end when they're all intoxicated. No, God is bringing the best last. Abundance that we can't even put our head around. This will be the largest transfer of wealth in the history of mankind. In the history. And I'm just telling you, this little 10 to the 45th power is just like a mustard size amount of the wealth that's there. that's in the ground, et cetera, et cetera. So you're going to see that number, and you're going to be able to access it to set up to 4 sub accounts, because all the money will reside on the quantum financial system. You will not have the ability to move it all off, take it in cash, none of that. It's being protected because God has a plan, right? The two of you have a plan together. Now you get to implement that plan. You're also going to be able to ask for up to 10,000 in currency, the new rainbow money. Why? Because it's going to take some time for the banks to get stuff moved around, the banks that are still here. And banks aren't going to be banks the way we have them now. They've been repurposed, and they're now called financial service centers. There will be no charges or fees to do anything through that service center. And they're expected to be here just for a short period of time, maybe 2 to 3, 5 years at the most, and then they'll all be gone. Because we won't need a bank. They're not holding all of our money. We're not processing transactions through them. We'll process everything through Starlink on the quantum financial system through this coin, XRP. Once we get through at that station, we're then going to go and we're going to have to, well, let me back up. We will be asked if we have a humanitarian project. And this is key. And I love talking about this. God has placed something in everybody's heart that we want to do. And if money wasn't an issue, what would you do right now for humanity?
You'd be doing it.
That's right. That's right.
But
And
the tool, money is a tool, and it's an important tool, and it's just a tool. And we need that to facilitate us to grow things how we want, with our own passion and purpose that the Lord gave to us. So I'm anxious to get started.
Exactly.
I'm going to take a little time off. I deserve it after 13 and a half years playing dragons. But I have it all planned out. I have it written down. I have my 3-minute elevator speech ready.
There you go. There you go.
Years into 3 minutes what I'm going to say. You know, the important thing is, people, is to speak from your heart. That's all. Put what you want down on paper and go over it every day. Get ready to be ready. But let it spew from your heart, because it means more. Sorry, David. I had to put
that was beautiful. Thank you, Susan. Everybody that turns in a humanitarian project, and when I say that, don't think you got to go out and run and make a 80-page business plan. No, we're gonna put together a template for this, and it's this simple. It's 3 short paragraphs. Okay. It could be 1 to 2 sentences in each one. The purpose of it is to acknowledge the money that is already there that's going to be given to each person with a project. Expect $1 million is what we've been told. Expect $1 million. Why? Because there's a project in every one of us. It could be picking up seniors at the senior center and taking them to the doctor, taking them to get groceries, taking them to go see their kids, whatever it is. So no project is too small. So don't think you have to go out and save the world. It's about the one. Now, here's an example of how simple it is. We want to package that reply into about 15 to 20 seconds, and that's it. They don't need to know the how. They just need to see the why. Okay? 3 simple paragraphs. Here's mine. They say, do you have a humanitarian project? Yes, I do. I'm going to need money for buildings, staffing, resources, and any other operating costs. That's it. You notice I didn't go and put a number on it. We don't want to do that, right? Because what if they had $12 million and you only asked for 100,000?
Good point.
Okay, like Dr. Kia said, they've already scanned everybody. And when I say scan, it just means they've had the ability to read your heart, your intentions, what your mind is, and what you want to do for mankind.
Mhm.
Everybody's going to get money. Will everybody have a plan that continues to run for 10, 15, 20 years? No. But they're given more than enough money because they just need to fulfill that plan.
Let me ask you something, Dave. If everybody's going to have money in a quantum account, do we need to have humanitarian? Why do we need to have humanitarian projects? We're
You don't
all
have to have one. You don't have to have one.
okay. Okay.
What I mean, you don't. Here's the example. 99% of the people are going to walk in.
Okay.
Whoever goes through the door goes through the door. They're going to ask, do you have any currency? No.
Okay.
Next station. They get down to the humanitarian project and they say, oh, do you have a humanitarian project you'd like to present? And then they're going to be like the deer in the headlights. Well, what's that all about? They're not even going to answer questions. They're just going to say thank you, and they're going to direct you through to the next station, which should be the celebration room. So what we're trying to do is, because that money has already been separated and assigned, we want to make sure that you get some,
I see.
that you're aware that you can present that one piece of paper with, 10 sentences on it in 3 paragraphs. Because at the end of the day, if we sat down with you and took you to lunch and said, what is in your spirit, what is in your heart that would help mankind, we'd be there for 4 hours. You would be telling us about this and this and this and this and this. So it's there.
And Dave, I just want to say, to answer Dr. Kia, whoever asked that question, why wouldn't you want to have a humanitarian project? Don't you want to give back a little bit of blessing that the Lord gave you, even if it's just the littlest thing? Like David said, once a week, take somebody to lunch or take them to see their kids, or just an act of kindness is also a humanitarian gesture, a project. It's worth it. You're not even going to have to work. You're having a blessing from God, this money. Don't you want to pay it forward? I can't answer that. Only you can. It makes the world a better place to live in.
I'll give you a really simple one right now.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take people fishing. What happens when you're fishing? You have time together.
Mm-hmm.
You have time to talk and share and do something together. There's nothing better than just time. Like, think about all the times, my dad was a police officer, right? So he was always gone. I wish I had that time back. And we were walking into this. Our relationship would have been completely different. He wouldn't have had to go out and protect everybody else, but not have time for me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, everybody has a different place. You get to spend more time with your family, or, donate money to the Boys and Girls Clubs. There's so many in every city, in every state.
Mm-hmm.
They need that. I mean, that's
the point is, we want you to ask.
Right.
We want you to be prepared. We want you to present that plan. Because by doing so, God's going to put money into your hands that isn't intended for you.
Right.
Not to pay your bills, not to buy cars or anything like that. And it's going to be monitored. Every quarter, you'll have to present information that it's moving forward, or that you're still looking at additional opportunities for your project. Because you may decide that you want to seed into somebody else's project.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's humanitarian too.
Mm.
So you can think out as big as you want, but they already know.
Mm.
And you don't want to discount your project, because this could just be the catalyst to launch you into something that is ginormous.
Hearing you speak, it came to my mind because I kept thinking everybody's going to have money. Maybe we don't need humanitarian projects, but I'm hearing you and Mother speak, and I'm like, what about the children who
Yeah.
don't have homes, or the
It's,
children have been traumatized? So this is a spiritual experience for me, is what I'm saying.
Hmm.
God has given me ideas.
Well, and what if you just needed to have the time available to go be a referee at the basketball games, to go be a coach during the week, and you needed transportation? That qualifies. See, if you don't present anything, you don't get anything.
or there's people that are animal lovers too. I mean,
Yes.
there's a need for everybody and everything. It just depends on how grand do you want your lifestyle to be, how much you want to pay forward to others.
And lean into the Lord. The word says that if you lack wisdom or knowledge, you lean into the Lord, and through his Holy Spirit, he will go and search out the deep places, and he will return with an answer. So you praise and thank the Holy Spirit that you have already received the word on your humanitarian project.
Now, David, the people that don't have humanitarian projects, they'll be blessed with what was set aside for them from what was stolen. And
Exactly.
yeah.
And they may own some of this. And if they do, there is a strong possibility, and this is not financial advice, that as that day manifests here, because the money's already there to do it,
Yeah.
and they already know what the price is. And that's what I've been working on for the last 2 years, part of a special evaluation committee. There's another amount that can be given to other humanitarian projects. There is so much money there now that if you're uncomfortable and you don't feel like you have the skill set or the desire to want to participate or be a financial resource to add to that, I would say go to God and say, God, why am I feeling in my heart that I don't want to participate? And I believe what you'll find out is that's just the enemy who has continued to put a message into your brain that you're not good enough, et cetera, et cetera. Well, you know what? That's not how God looks at it.
Yes.
Every day. I mean, you have no idea how much he loves you. And I'm with him, and he's telling me this stuff every day.
And David, the projects, they don't have to just be here in the United States. They could be worldwide, correct?
Well, I imagine that if you just started with $1 million and you lean into God as to your plan with him together, you could end up in a $1 billion project down the road. Because he's giving seed. That's what he's doing. He's giving seed. Okay. And our hearts are his land. Now, he expects us to be great stewards. And he expects us to plant into great ground. Well, how do we do that? We lean into him. He's the gardener. Everything in the word is about agriculture, if you notice. Right? He's the vine dresser, he's the gardener, et cetera, et cetera. So he already has that great ground picked out. He's just waiting for us to ask him for that direction and praise and thank him for that. And then we seed into that. And then it takes off and it multiplies.
I wanted to mention something too. Isn't Nasara, it was connected with the farmers years ago, correct?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Well, remember, but ancient times, everything was agriculture.
Yeah.
That's what took man into creating communities and cities and everything else, because resources were there.
Right.
When man was nomadic and just moved around, it was just small groups. But now we're in a place in time that has already been identified, and it looks different than what we thought.
Well, it's going to look even more different because with this time, we're not only having the blessing financially, but with our health and wellness, because 6,000 plus, what is it? The patents that were taken by the military industrial complex, they're going to be released. There's stuff that cleans the water, the air, our bodies, the med beds. Oh, there's so much. I can't wait to get into that. I'm all about the healing. We're going to live such long lives. And why wouldn't you want to have a humanitarian project based on that? They'll give you money for doing these projects, and it could be enormous sums. We're going to be living longer lives. So
Great point, and especially on the patents. I remember when the year I graduated from San Diego State, the engineering department built a vehicle, a car, that got 105 miles to the gallon.
Mm-hmm.
Mobil came in and gave the university $1 million for it. As I was told, a truck pulled up, they crated the car,
yeah,
they loaded it onto the back of the truck with no markings on it. It was never to be seen again.
mm-hmm.
And by doing so, they also got all the patents, and they owned all the technology that built it. That was during the gas crisis and everything else. So, there's a lot of hidden technology.
I remember hearing about that as well. And so we're all stepping into a whole new world, a whole new life it's just going to be amazing. And what's scary about that? Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here, I think this is what it boils down to. There's something that happens when people are a captive, when they're oppressed.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's called Stockholm Syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And they become to love their master.
Mm-hmm.
And they will do whatever it takes to keep things from changing.
Mm-hmm.
Even to the point where the door is wide open and you can run away, and people don't.
Mm-hmm.
This is a door that we get the privilege to go through. That's
correct. And we can't turn back, because this is all the old systems are going down. The banking's not going to be the same. Nothing's the same. Even all the phases of our government are not going to be the same. In fact, we're going to have re-elections, and we're going to do it on our new phones and our new computers. So, and once again, David, we're going to activate our cards in our computer, and only we'll be able to use those devices, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Because they have our DNA on them.
Well, and if you don't mind, I'll just read a few of the lines off of my Intel report. Excuse me for looking away, but here's what they just confirmed, because this is what the Lord had shared with me. This is what I've been posting for nearly 2 years now. Everybody thinks I'm crazy, and even people in my family, but they're going to come to know the truth. It says the quantum financial system is a megalithic financial structure that has been given to mankind by the heavens. It's called a megalithic because it stands alone as the most advanced financial system anyone could imagine. That tells you right there, we've never seen anything like it. This technology is no peer on earth at the present time. And this magnificent system was designed to take on the magnitude of accounting, that's my background, needed to balance every financial transaction in real time. In real time, every single financial transaction. That is, well, let me put it this way. As we go to the quantum realm, we will see operations of more than 100 quadrillion transactions in a second. And there's nothing that limits this technology. Nothing that can hold it back. They're not worried about how many gigabytes or how many terabytes or like the speed of your internet. Well, if you pay $29, you get this, but if you pay $99, you get this. There's no limit here. It doesn't even have a service provider. There's no connection between the Earth and the quantum financial system. And it says the quantum financial system is housed in a mega quantum consciousness. I thought you would really like that, Dr. Pruitt.
Yes.
And it's called QC. And we call it a computer. And this is a ledger system made up of individual accounts. Well, guess what? Everybody watching right now and that will be watching, you have an account already. It's already there with your name on it. And that's what you're going to go to the Redemption Center to access and to turn on. And it says that another safety feature is your personal connection to it. The connection is direct to the quantum computer and does not need a service provider. So there will never be viruses or worms or any destructive junk. This includes artificial intelligence that will make sure your information is clean and pure, and as well as everybody else's, right? Mm-hmm. And it says this artificial intelligence is provided as a benevolent gatekeeper. In essence, it stands guard to keep evil out, to make sure it doesn't raise its ugly head.
So, David, let me interject a second. So, in essence, when our frequencies waved, we wouldn't be able to operate our phones or computers if our frequency's not right, pure, and I mean, we're not saints, but we're not mass murderers that want to commit crimes. So we wouldn't be able to even operate this system. It wouldn't accept us, right?
Right. And it says that it records all transaction data in a permanent storage center that has no limit. And that this technology was created, and this is what was so unique, because I was talking about this. It was created out of time. See, we live in time.
Yeah.
It was created out of time. Let that sink in. I mean, it's been given to us for this time that we're going into. It has recorded, get this, all banked records since banks began to use computers. When did banks begin to use computers? A long time ago. It was already keeping track of everything. We didn't even know it. Let that sink in. And this one last thing. It says it will perform like the cloud to house all your applications, files, and photos. So if you have anything on your iPhone, like music, like family pictures, you need to get that all pulled off the cloud and onto portable hard drives. And then it says that these computer devices may become obsolete, meaning there may just be a time to upload your personal family photos and things like this. And now that portable hard drive is no longer compatible. And we wouldn't be using it anyway. Why? Because we're going from our quantum phone right to our quantum account. So just think of it as a way to guard and protect all of us in real time, 24/7, from anything trying to come in that wants to mess it up.
There'll be no more theft of debit cards, or any of that.
No identity theft, nothing. We're going to be in a harmonic time in our life where everything is about love. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing stronger than perfect love, which is complete love, because it casts out all fear. Because it's true. It's the truth.
I have a question for you, Brother Dave. Will we have an opportunity to learn how to manage the money? In other words, will the financial centers provide some type of money management seminars, or just to show us how to be a steward of this wealth?
No, they're simply going to be there to facilitate the transfer of understanding how to move money.
Okay.
because for a short period of time, we're still going to have to move money.
Okay.
And that's only because we're not operating 100% on the QFS in relationship to there's still some banks around. And people will need time to understand how to use their phones and their computers and their desktops to do their finances.
Okay.
Now, if you talk to my granddaughters and my grandson, Papa, we don't even go to the bank. What are those things? I'm like, Mel made a comment on his show. One of his friends took his grandkids and his kids to the bank just so they could say they knew what they look like, because we won't be using them.
Wow.
There won't be a need. We won't have debt. We will be able to be free and clear of our homes, our mortgages.
Wow.
We will have cars without debt. We're going to have free energy. So what are we really paying for?
Food. Yeah.
There you go. And then we're going to have the best food.
And
a
new home or a new car or whatever. I mean,
that's right. That's
a whole
right.
new life, period.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it isn't, and again, please understand my heart. My heart isn't to bring panic. That's why it says don't panic. It's about awareness. Because if you're aware, you're going to be there to love on somebody else when they're not understanding what's taking place.
Yeah.
And you can say, I may not know all about this, but this is what I do know. This isn't about panic, because that's false evidence appearing real. This is about transitional period in time ordained by God before time was created, so that we can go into a period of love and blessing and mankind's continued growth and harmony. Right now, we're coming from a place of what I call harmonic disbalance. They've been feeding us harmonics designed to imbalance us internally, mentally, spiritually. All that goes away.
Yeah, we're going to be better people. Humanity will be better because we'll have nothing but healthy harmonics, healthy frequencies, healthy music, movies, art.
Yes.
I've already been told all these old bad things are going to be taken away, just like all those who were arrested for doing harmful things to children. And we know, without getting into it, or committing crimes, or
Well, we're going to see the cell towers come down.
Yeah, and
because we won't need them.
Yeah.
I've been watching for about a year now. I've been seeing a lot of trucks on the road throughout the state of Florida. And I don't know what these guys were doing, but my intuition told me dismantling some of the technologies in that, getting ready for the Tesla. 'Cause I've seen it for the last year.
Right. Well, and there's so much happening behind the scenes that that's why people just need to relax.
Yeah.
And as we know, during the 7 days of creation, God created for 6 days, and he blessed everything that he created, and then it says he rested.
Yes.
Now here's a great a great way to look at the word rest. R, resist. E, everything. S, stupid. T, thoughts. Resist every stupid thought. And if you can do that at just 5%, you're well on your way to just being able to put down anything that pops up.
Now, David, when we get the emergency broadcast or alert, whatever you want to call it, and it's 3 to 10 days.
Somewhere between 3 and 10 days, depending upon where you are in the country. I've been told New York and LA are going to take a few extra days. So they might have, 7 to 10 days. We're going to have, fewer days depending where we are in the country.
I see.
And that just means our ability to access outside our area.
So after the broadcast is going to happen so that They turn off all the computers so we're not distracted. So our attention is full on the television when they show us the who, what, where, when, why, and how of the disclosures. Correct?
We're gonna get a text that says turn your television on.
Correct.
And we're supposed to have limited use of our telephone for making calls
Okay.
because
So
we're
you
going to be
wanna-
concerned about people.
We want to make sure that we have our food, comfort food. If you're going to sit there and watch this, you may as well be comfortable and just get prepared. You have food and water and maybe some gas in your car. So when you go to the redemption center, you're good to go. Correct?
Exactly. And you're relaxed in your mind and you're at peace.
And then we'll be getting the emails right after. And if people don't have cable, it doesn't matter because it's going to be on all the stations because they took over the airways, but Starlink is different.
Well, you'll be able to watch it on your computer.
I was just going to ask that. Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll turn it on
Okay.
for the broadcasts, but mind you, these broadcasts are going to be 24/7.
Yeah.
Computer.
There's already programming in 8-hour blocks.
Right.
So every 8 hours will be another segment.
I'm excited. I can't wait.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I mean, think about it. We've been given the privilege to be here.
Yeah.
And
Amen.
for your viewers, I'm 14th generation American, I found out. My grandfather was Miles Standish, who was the Mr. Pilgrim. So I have a very long lineage that I didn't even know about. So it's kind of like, wow. And it was only because of one daughter who had a daughter. She had one child and it was a daughter. And that's what kept me in the tree or the root system.
Well, it's exciting. So I hope that the listeners can feel secure
That's right.
and knowing that it's all out of love. That's why we're here to talk about it.
And if you need help, like I said, we're going to put together a handout. Think of it as a handout. And it'll be a template that you can use to fill in the blanks. So that you know exactly what you're going to put down on the paper. And then you'll be able to package your story and you'll be able to just rattle it off. Because, think about it. You're going to see that amount in that quantum financial card.
Sure.
And it's like, back in 1994, they told me at that private meeting, $20 million.
Wow.
That's
Now,
a lot of money.
The older people get more. The younger people get less. There's 3 groups, 61 and over. Group 2 is 45 to 60. Group 3 is 24 to 44. And it only has to do with how much you've paid into the system or not. So if you're under 24, you won't be participating in NASARA. You're going to be a benefactor of it from everybody else.
That's beautiful.
Because they're going to be looking for people to employ into their foundations, to employ into their humanitarian projects. And guess what, guys? We're not paying minimum wage.
Right.
Right.
We're going to compensate people so well that they would never even want to go look to do anything else.
Right.
So that's coming.
Yes, and keep your love vibration high. Thank
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's
We've shared so much great information on today about how to prepare now before we even see that reality of living in wealth. We've shared what that's going to look like, what the process is going to look like, and how we are to behave once we go to these financial centers or to the redemption centers, as we called it. So I wanted to know if there are any final words. We're coming up on almost 10 more minutes before our 2-hour mark. So I wanted to know if first,
Wow. We've been going for 2 hours.
Yeah, 1 hour and 49 minutes.
Yeah,
Got started.
yeah, that's with David.
Yeah.
Just, I will just say, get ready to be ready, and it's all in love.
And I would make one comment up there where it says true identity. Okay, that was something that the Lord revealed to me years back. And what he helped me understand is once we understand our true identity, see that's the disconnect right now. Fear can come in when you don't know your true identity. Because once you know your true identity, there's nothing that is going to enter that space, right? Even to the point where I came up with another little saying, and it's going to be part of my book I'm writing. It's called how high is your IQ? And it's not an intelligence quotient, it's an identity quotient. If you asked yourself right now on a scale of 0 to 100, how well do I know my identity quotient? Where would I put it? Take the test. It's your test. But I was at 0. That's where I started. And it was so powerful because I was doing good things. I was doing tax work for people and saving them money. And I considered that a white hat operation versus being an auditor. And I remember the day when the Lord said, Dave, I can give you nothing, nor will I give you anything that will take you away from me. And I asked and I prayed and I praised. But what did he say to me? Dave, your heart's not right. And if I give you a massive blessing, I'm going to lose you to the world. And I gave up my only son to get you back. Everybody's taken 18 years for me to work through that. To get my heart right, to lay things down, get rid of the ego, get rid of a lot of things that I didn't need in my life. And you can do that today. You can find yourself a quiet place. You can cancel out the noise. And you can say these simple words. Father, I praise you and I thank you that you have made this opportunity available for me to come home to you. I thank you that your son Jesus paid the price so I could be redeemed. I believe, Father, that this moment right here was all that it took for my redemption and my way back home to your loving arms. And if you just said that right now and you can feel God pulling on your heart, thank you. Thank you for being part of all of this. And if you're still wondering, Dr. Kia is going to make this video available and it'll be posted right there.
Yes.
And you can fast forward right to this point. But I want you to know one thing. It's guaranteed. It's for sure. And you'll never have to look again wondering if you made the right choice. So with that, I bless you. And I thank you that you're here today. Thank you.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. What a beautiful, beautiful way to end our discussion for today. I'm so full of love and honor and reverence for the Most High and for my host, my co-host, Mother Susan Price, and our special guest, XRPLion1. Thank you so much to the two of you for being here. You always constantly bless me. So thank you.
Thank you, Doc. And thank you, David.
Thank you, Susan.
I treasure you both. I treasure your listeners as well.
Yes. We thank you too, listeners, for being here and for sharing this time with us and giving us your love and your energy and for the questions that you've asked, because you're helping all of us when you ask those questions. Every question is valued here. Now, on next week, I want to tell you that Gold Star Mother Susan Price will be here We will tell you later which date and which time. And at that time, she will tell us about her story, what she's experienced over these last few years, how God has called her, and what He's called her for. She'll give us some information about how she was also a servant in the military, and as well as her son, and she'll talk to us about that, and even about some healthcare products that we can use. So as we go into this new era to keep ourselves energized, right, Mother?
Mhm. That's right. I'm happy to be there.
Yes, ma'am. So, family, we're going to close for now. Thank you so much for being here. I know, sometimes we're coming on and we're just sharing a lot of news where I'm shouting and I'm yelling and I'm singing and, I'm praising and all that. And then there comes a time, sometime when it's time to just be quiet and listen to wisdom, the wisdom of XRP, Dave Lion One, the wisdom of Mother Price, because I don't know it all and I don't have all the answers. It is my job to learn as well as teach. So that's it, family. I trust that we've said something to raise your vibrations and to inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. Bye for now. We love you so much.
I love you.
God bless everybody.
God bless you. Make it a great day, family. Bye bye.